Before we dive in, let's get the important legal stuff out of the way. I am not a financial advisor, mortgage lender, or real estate agent. This video is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered financial or legal advice. The world of grants, lending, and real estate changes constantly, so it is absolutely critical that you consult with qualified professionals for advice tailored to your specific situation. Okay, let's get into it. You open the app. Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com. It doesn't matter which one, the ritual is the same. You scroll, you swipe, you find it. The one. It has the right number of bedrooms, the yard for the dog you want to get, the kitchen where you can already smell the coffee brewing. You feel that little spark of excitement, and then you do the math. You look at the price, you calculate the down payment, and that spark just fizzles out. It's like hitting a brick wall at 100 miles an hour. That number, that massive pile of cash you're supposed to have sitting in the bank, feels completely and utterly impossible. It feels like you're trying to save for a goalpost that the world keeps moving further and further away. If that sounds familiar, I want you to listen very, very closely. What if I told you that the biggest barrier to homeownership, that giant wall of cash, is something you might not have to climb alone? What if I told you there are billions of dollars, literally billions with a B, set aside every single year specifically to help people just like you buy their first home? And what if I told you that a huge chunk of that money is not a loan? It's a gift. Free money. A grant that you never ever have to pay back. This isn't a fantasy. This isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. This is the hidden world of first-time homebuyer grants in the United States. And for the next few minutes, we are going to pull back the curtain and show you exactly what's available. We're going to solve the single biggest problem that keeps renters renting: the down payment. By the end of this video, you will understand the different types of free money programs that exist, who they're for, and how they can slash the amount of cash you need to bring to the closing table from tens of thousands of dollars down to something you can actually achieve. Let's be honest, the down payment is the great wall of homeownership. For decades, we've had this idea drilled into our heads that you need 20% down to buy a house. Let's just run those numbers. The median home price in the United States is hovering around $400,000. 20% of that is $80,000. $80,000. That's more than the average American makes in an entire year. So you're supposed to work, pay your rent, pay for gas, buy groceries, and somehow magically save an extra 80 grand on the side? It's absurd. It's a standard that was set in a completely different economic era. And frankly, for most people today, it's a myth. Here's the first piece of good news. You do not need 20% down. The vast majority of first-time homebuyers don't put down anywhere near that. Conventional loans allow as little as 3% down. FHA loans, backed by the government, require just 3.5%. But even then, on that same $400,000 house, 3.5% is still $14,000. And that's before you even think about closing costs, which can be another 2 to 5% on top of that. So you're still looking at needing $20,000, maybe $25,000 in cash just to get the keys. And for most of us, that is still a massive, intimidating mountain to climb. It's the reason people stay in apartments for years longer than they want to, paying a landlord's mortgage instead of their own, feeling like they're falling behind while watching their friends post pictures of their new backyards. This is where grants change the entire game. So what exactly is a grant? Let's define it in the simplest possible terms. A grant is a financial gift. It is money given to you, typically by a government agency or a nonprofit organization, that you do not have to repay. Let me say that again because it's the most important sentence you're going to hear. You do not have to pay it back. It's not a second mortgage. It's not a silent loan that comes due when you sell. It's a direct injection of cash into your home purchase to help you clear the hurdle of the down payment and closing costs. Think of it like a scholarship for homeownership. When you get a scholarship for college, you don't pay it back, right? The university or organization gives you the money because they believe in your potential, and they want to help you succeed. Homebuyer grants work on the exact same principle. State and local governments, housing finance agencies, and community nonprofits offer these grants because they want you to succeed. They know that when people own homes, they build wealth. They put down roots. They pay property taxes, they shop at local businesses, and they contribute to a more stable and prosperous community for everyone. So, they are literally investing in you to help you invest in their community. It's a win-win. So this isn't some shady loophole. It's a collection of established, well-funded programs designed to turn responsible renters into successful homeowners. The problem is, most people have never heard of them. Lenders don't always advertise them. and real estate agents might not be experts in every single local program available. It's a world that's been hiding in plain sight. Now, these grants come in a few different flavors, and it's crucial to understand the main categories. The most common type is, you guessed it, down payment assistance or DPA. These are grants designed specifically to cover that big initial chunk of cash. So, if you need that $14,000 for your 3.5% down payment, a DPA grant could come in and give you $10,000, $12,000, or in some cases the entire amount. Suddenly, the impossible number becomes possible. The second major type is a closing costs grant. Closing costs are the collection of fees you have to pay to finalize the mortgage, things like appraisal fees, title insurance, attorney fees, and so on. They can be a nasty surprise for first-time buyers, often adding another $8,000 to $10,000 to the cash you need. A closing costs grant is money specifically earmarked to cover those expenses, so you aren't blindsided at the last minute. Some incredible programs will even combine the two, offering a single grant that can be used for either your down payment or your closing costs, giving you flexibility. Beyond those, you'll find specialized grants. There are programs for people in specific professions, often called Good Neighbor or Hometown Heroes programs. These are designed to help teachers, firefighters, police officers, healthcare workers, and veterans buy homes in the communities they serve. There are grants for buying homes in specific revitalization areas. There are grants for people with disabilities. There are even grants that help you pay for energy-efficient upgrades to your new home. The landscape of what's available is vast, and it's constantly changing. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. The grant that's perfect for a teacher in Texas might be completely different from the one available to a factory worker in Ohio. And that's why this is so important. Knowing that these programs exist is the first step. The next step is knowing how to find the specific ones that you qualify for. Over this series, we are going to give you the complete playbook. In our next videos, we will dive deep into the exact tools and government websites you can use right now to search for grants in your state, your county, and even your city. We're going to break down the eligibility requirements. We'll talk about income limits. And I promise you do not have to be in a low-income bracket to qualify for many of these. They're designed for middle-class working families. We'll talk about credit score requirements and what you can do to meet them. We'll give you a step-by-step guide on how to talk to a lender about these programs, so you sound like you know what you're doing. We will arm you with the knowledge you need to walk into this process with confidence. The goal here is simple: to transform your mindset from, "I can't afford to buy a house," to, "How do I get my grant money to buy my house?" It's a fundamental shift from a position of impossibility to a position of strategy. You just need the right map. So if you're tired of watching your rent payments vanish every month, and you're ready to learn about the secret funding that could put the keys to your own home in your hand, you are in the exact right place. Let's start by exploring exactly where this money comes from. The money doesn't just appear out of thin air. It isn't a lottery. It's part of a massive strategic system designed to do one thing: help people like you buy a home. Think of it like a giant financial river system. The main source, the headwaters, is the federal government, specifically the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. Now, you almost never go directly to HUD and ask for a check. That's the first big misconception. HUD is the wholesaler, not the retail store. They receive billions in funding from Congress with a mandate to promote stable, affordable housing. Their job is to then distribute that money down to the state and local levels. They create the big picture programs, set the rules, and provide the funding for landmark initiatives like the Home Investment Partnerships Program or the Community Development Block Grant Program. These names might sound bureaucratic and boring, but hidden inside them are the funds that eventually become the grant that pays for your down payment. So, while you won't be calling a 1-800 number for HUD, understanding that they are the ultimate source helps you see the legitimacy and the scale of what's available. The money is real, it's government-backed, and it's flowing downstream, right to your state. This is where the magic really starts to happen for you, the homebuyer. Every single state, plus DC and Puerto Rico, has what's called a Housing Finance Agency, or HFA. This is the most important acronym you will learn in this entire process. These state-level agencies are the main distributors of those federal HUD funds. They take that big chunk of money, often add their own state-funded programs to it, and create a menu of options specifically for the residents of their state. Think of it this way. If HUD is the giant reservoir in the mountains, your state's HFA is the massive pipeline that brings that water to your city. They are the gatekeepers and the facilitators. They work directly with a network of approved mortgage lenders, the local banks and credit unions in your town, to deliver these grant programs to the public. This is why you can't just walk into any bank and ask for the government grant. You have to work with a lender who is specifically trained and approved by your state's HFA to offer these programs. Finding your state's HFA website is your first and most critical piece of homework. It's where you'll find the real names of the programs available to you, the specific income limits for your county, and most importantly, the list of approved lenders who can actually get you the money. We're talking about real-world programs with names like the Georgia Dream Homeownership Program or the California My Home Assistance Program. Every state has them, and they are the central hub for first-time homebuyer assistance in your area. But the river doesn't stop at the state level. It branches off into smaller streams. Many counties and larger cities receive their own funding directly from HUD or run their own local housing initiatives. This is where things get really interesting and hyper-specific. A city might have a program to revitalize a specific historic neighborhood, offering a $10,000 grant to anyone who buys and fixes up a home there. A county might offer an extra grant specifically for teachers, firefighters, police officers, or nurses as a way to encourage them to live in the communities they serve. These are often called hometown hero programs. This is the layer that most people miss entirely. They might check the state website, but they don't think to check the official website for their city or county. This is where you can find hidden gems, smaller pools of money with less competition. This is how you can stack benefits. For example, you might qualify for a $5,000 state-level grant for your down payment, and then discover your city offers an additional $3,000 grant for closing costs if you buy within the city limits. Suddenly, you have $8,000 in assistance that your neighbor who bought a house one street over, in a different municipality, didn't have access to. It requires a little more digging, a bit of local sleuthing, but uncovering a grant that only a few dozen people know about can be the final piece of the puzzle that makes your home purchase possible. Beyond the government, there's a whole ecosystem of nonprofit organizations dedicated to affordable housing. National organizations like NeighborWorks America have a network of local affiliates all over the country. These groups are incredible resources. They don't just offer grants, they provide mandatory and incredibly valuable homebuyer education courses. In fact, completing one of these courses is often a requirement to qualify for many state and local grants. So they not only give you access to money, but they also equip you with the knowledge to be a successful homeowner. They teach you about budgeting, understanding your mortgage, home maintenance, all the things that turn a house purchase into a successful long-term investment. There are also community development corporations, or CDCs, and local credit unions that often have their own unique grant or down payment assistance programs. These organizations are mission-driven. Their goal isn't profit, it's community stability. They want to see you succeed, and they often have more flexible guidelines and a more personal touch than a massive national bank. They are embedded in the community and understand its unique challenges and opportunities. Never underestimate the power of these local community partners. Sometimes, the best-kept secrets are found through a local housing counselor at one of these nonprofits. Finally, we have the private sector. You might be surprised to learn that some of the biggest banks in the country, think Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, have their own proprietary grant programs. Why would they just give away money? Few reasons. First, there's something called the Community Reinvestment Act, a federal law that encourages banks to meet the credit needs of the communities where they operate, including low and moderate income neighborhoods. Offering grants is a great way for them to meet these obligations. Second, it's just good business. The housing market is competitive. By offering a $5,000 or even a $10,000 grant, they can attract a whole new generation of loyal customers who will not only get their mortgage with them, but might also open checking accounts, savings accounts, and get car loans down the road. These programs are often targeted at specific census tracts or have their own unique income requirements, but they are absolutely worth investigating alongside the government-funded options. A lender might be able to combine a state HFA grant with one of their own internal bank grants, creating a powerful financial package that dramatically lowers your upfront costs. So let's zoom out for a second. This isn't one single pot of money. It's a complex, layered ecosystem. You have the federal government, HUD, as the source. You have your state housing finance agency as the primary distributor. You have your local city and county governments offering targeted, niche programs. You have nonprofits and community groups providing support and funding. And you have private banks competing for your business with their own grant money. It's a web of opportunity, and the reason it feels like a secret is because no one ever shows you the whole map. They only show you one tiny corner. But now you see the entire landscape. You know where the money comes from. The next and most crucial question is, what do these grants actually do? How do they work? Do you get a check in the mail? Does it go directly to the seller? And what's the difference between a grant for a down payment versus one for closing costs? We're about to break down the actual mechanics of how this free money gets from these sources into your pocket, turning you from a renter into a homeowner. So let's start with the most common question. What's the real distinction between a grant for your down payment versus one for your closing costs? Think of it like this: you're buying a car. The down payment is the big chunk of cash you put down to lower your monthly payments and show the bank you're serious. The closing costs are like the dealership fees, the taxes, the title and registration fees, all those extra charges that pop up at the end that you have to pay before they hand you the keys. Both are cash hurdles you have to clear to finalize the deal. A home purchase is the same, just on a much bigger scale. First, let's zoom in on the big one: down payment assistance grants. This is the heavyweight champion of homebuyer help. The single biggest barrier for most aspiring homeowners isn't the monthly mortgage payment. Often, that's comparable to or even less than their current rent. The real mountain to climb is saving up that initial lump sum for the down payment. We're talking about thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. Lenders require a down payment as skin in the game. It shows you're financially committed and reduces their risk. A traditional but now largely outdated rule of thumb was that you needed 20% down. On a $300,000 home, that's $60,000. For most people, saving that kind of cash while paying rent and dealing with inflation feels impossible. This is precisely where down payment assistance grants come in. They are designed to attack that one massive problem head-on. These programs provide a specific amount of money, say $10,000, or a percentage of the purchase price, like 3 or 4%, that is specifically earmarked to go towards your down payment requirement. Let's use that $300,000 house again. If you're using an FHA loan, your minimum down payment is 3.5%, which is $10,500. A DPA grant could potentially cover that entire amount. Suddenly, the biggest financial obstacle on your path to homeownership completely vanishes. The money is wired directly to the closing, satisfying the lender's requirement, and you're able to get into a home years, maybe even a decade, sooner than you could have otherwise. It's not just about the money, it's about compressing time. It's about getting you to the starting line when you otherwise would have been stuck in the parking lot. But let's say you're a fantastic saver. You've diligently put away money and you have the $10,500 for the down payment. You're feeling proud, you're ready to go. You find a house, get your offer accepted, and then your loan officer sends you a document called a loan estimate. As you scan down the page, your heart sinks. You see a whole new set of fees you never even knew existed. This is the second hurdle: closing costs. Closing costs are the collection of fees required to actually finalize the mortgage and transfer ownership of the property. They're the hidden costs of buying a home that can absolutely blindside first-time buyers. We're talking about things like the loan origination fee, which is what the lender charges for creating the loan, the appraisal fee, to have a professional confirm the house is worth what you're paying, title insurance, to protect you and the lender from any ownership claims on the property from the past, attorney fees, recording fees for the county, and more. It's a long list. These costs typically add up to an additional 2 to 5% of the home's purchase price. On our $300,000 home, that's another $6,000 to $15,000 in cash you need to bring to the table. This is where so many deals fall apart. The buyer has the down payment, but they get hit with an unexpected $12,000 bill for closing costs, and they simply don't have it. This is where a closing cost grant becomes your hero. It functions just like a down payment grant, but it's specifically targeted at this second bucket of expenses. A program might offer you, say, up to $5,000 in grant money to be applied directly to those fees. That $12,000 bill might get knocked down to $7,000, or even less, making it far more manageable. Some buyers even negotiate with the seller to have them pay for a portion of the closing costs, and when you combine that with a grant, you could potentially pay next to nothing out of pocket for these fees. It takes the sticker shock out of the final step of the process and ensures you don't trip and fall right before the finish line. Now, you might be thinking, what if I need a little help with both? What if my savings cover part of the down payment and some of the closing costs, but I have a gap in each bucket? This brings us to the third, and often most flexible type, the hybrid or combination grant. These are less common, but they are incredibly powerful. Instead of being strictly designated for one purpose, these grants provide a lump sum of assistance that can be allocated as needed. For example, A housing finance agency might offer a grant of 4% of the loan amount. On a $300,000 home, that's $12,000. The program rules might state that you can use that $12,000 to cover your $10,500 down payment, with the remaining $1,500 rolling over to help with closing costs. Or if you've already saved your down payment, you could apply the entire $12,000 towards that daunting $15,000 closing cost bill. This flexibility is amazing because every buyer's financial situation is unique. A hybrid grant acts like a financial Swiss Army knife, allowing you and your lender to apply the funds where they will have the most impact, plugging the most critical hole in your budget. Finally, there's a fourth, more specialized category that most people have never heard of: repair or rehabilitation grants. Let's be honest, not every house on the market is in perfect, move-in ready condition. You might find a home in the perfect neighborhood with a great layout, but it needs a new roof, the furnace is ancient, or the kitchen is a complete teardown. These issues can scare off first-time homebuyers who have already stretched their budget just to buy the place and have zero cash left over for major repairs. Rehab grants are designed to solve this exact problem. Often bundled with specific renovation loan products, these grants provide extra funds at closing specifically for making necessary repairs and improvements to the home. So, you get the loan to buy the house and simultaneously you get a grant to help fix it up. This is a game changer. It allows you to buy a home with good bones that other buyers might overlook, and it allows you to finance the cost of repairs into the deal, often with free grant money to reduce that cost. You're not just buying a house, you're immediately creating equity by improving it from day one, turning a fixer-upper into your dream home without draining your savings account. So, how does this all actually work in practice? This is key. You don't just get a check in the mail for $10,000. That's not how it works. And it's a good thing because these funds have a very specific legal purpose. The mechanics are actually much more integrated and professional. The grant money is paid directly from the grant-providing institution to the title company or closing attorney who is handling your transaction. It never touches your bank account. Think of it as a coupon you give the cashier at the grocery store. You don't get the cash value of the coupon. The discount is just applied to your final bill. On closing day, you'll see a settlement statement, which is a giant spreadsheet of all the money coming in and all the money going out. You'll see the cost of the house, the appraisal fee, the title fees. And then you'll see a credit, a line item that says something like City of Austin Down Payment Grant, with a negative number next to it, like minus $10,000. That grant money is subtracted directly from the total amount of cash you need to bring to the closing table. It's a seamless behind-the-scenes transaction that simply reduces your final bill, turning what might have been an impossible sum into a manageable one. So we've unpacked the what, the different types of tools in your home buying grant toolkit: down payment grants to clear the first hurdle, closing cost grants to handle the hidden fees, hybrid grants for maximum flexibility, and rehab grants to help you build instant equity. But knowing you need a saw is different from knowing which hardware store sells it. The real question is, where do you find these programs? Are they run by the federal government, your state, your city, or someone else entirely? In the next part, we're going on a treasure hunt to uncover the specific organizations, the actual sources, that hold the keys to this free money. So let's pull out that treasure map. The first thing you need to understand is that this isn't a single treasure chest hidden on one island. It's more like a network of hidden caches, scattered across different levels of government and even the private sector. Think of it like a video game with different worlds to explore. Our first world is the biggest, the one that seems most obvious, the federal government. When people hear government grant, they often think of some massive office in Washington, D.C. mailing out checks. And in a way, they're not entirely wrong, but they're not entirely right either. The main player at the federal level is the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. Now, this is a critical piece of information, so listen closely. HUD is like the wealthy patron who funds the treasure hunt. They don't typically hand you the gold doubloons directly. Instead, they provide massive block grants to state and local governments, who then create and manage the specific first-time homebuyer programs that you will actually apply for. So, if you spend all your time on the main HUD website looking for a personal grant application, you're going to be disappointed. It's like trying to buy a candy bar directly from the factory headquarters instead of just going to the corner store. HUD sets the stage, they provide the funding and the overarching rules, but the corner stores, the places you actually get the money, are elsewhere. We'll get to those in a second. The federal government's most direct role for you, the homebuyer, is in ensuring loans through programs like the FHA, VA, and USDA. But remember, an FHA loan is not a grant. It's a mortgage with more lenient requirements, which is fantastic, but it's not free money for your down payment. The magic happens when you combine a federally backed loan with a grant from one of these other sources. That brings us to the second world on our treasure map, and honestly, for most of you, this is where you'll strike gold. We're talking about state housing finance agencies, or HFAs. Every single state in the US, plus Puerto Rico and the District of Columbia, has one. This is the absolute #1 place you should begin your search. These HFAs are the primary distributors of that HUD money we just talked about, and they often supplement it with their own state-funded programs. This is where the names get specific and the money gets real. Let's take California, for example. The California Housing Finance Agency, or CalHFA, has run programs like the My Home Assistance Program, which offers a deferred payment junior loan to help with down payments. They also made huge waves with their Dream for All program, a shared appreciation loan that at one point offered up to 20% of the home's purchase price. Now, that specific program was so popular it ran out of funds in just 11 days, but it shows you the sheer power and potential of these state-level agencies. They are constantly creating funding and then refunding programs just like this. Or how about Texas? The Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs has a program called My First Texas Home. It provides down payment and closing cost assistance, and it's not just for people with low incomes. It has generous income limits that include many middle-class professionals like teachers, police officers, and nurses. In Florida, you have the Florida Housing Finance Corporation, which has run programs like the Hometown Heroes program, specifically designed to help frontline community workers in over 50 eligible professions become homeowners. Do you see the pattern here? The names and details change from state to state, but the mission is the same: to make homeownership more accessible for their residents. So your first piece of homework, your first actionable step after watching this, is to open a new tab and Google these exact words. Your state's name housing finance agency. Don't just search first-time homebuyer grants. Get specific. Go directly to the source. This is the state-sanctioned, official hub for these programs. Their websites will list every single grant, deferred loan, and assistance program they offer, along with the approved lenders who know how to process them. This single search is the most important step you will take on this entire journey. But our treasure hunt doesn't stop there. Let's zoom in on the map. We've gone from the federal level to the state level, and now we're entering the third world, cities and counties. This is where things get really interesting, because you can often stack local grants on top of state grants. Many larger cities and even some well-funded counties have their own housing authorities or economic development offices that offer their own unique programs. These are often called hyperlocal programs. For example, the city of Chicago has had programs offering up to $60,000 in down payment assistance for buyers in specific neighborhoods. In New York City, the Home First Down Payment Assistance Program has provided qualified buyers with a forgivable loan to help them purchase a home within the 5 boroughs. Even smaller cities get in on the action. Boise, Idaho has offered assistance through its Neighborhood Lift program. What's incredible is that many homebuyers who qualify for a state program might also qualify for a city or county program, and sometimes you can use both. Imagine getting $10,000 from your state's HFA and another $15,000 from your city's housing initiative. Suddenly, that daunting down payment doesn't seem so impossible anymore. Your second piece of homework is to perform another targeted search. Your city or county name, First-Time Home Buyer Assistance Program. You might be shocked at what you find. These programs are often less advertised than the big state-level ones, meaning less competition and more opportunity for those who know where to look. Now, for the final world on our map, the one that most people completely overlook. This is the secret level, the hidden cache of treasure that isn't marked on most maps. We're talking about private institutions, banks, credit unions, and nonprofits. You might think of a bank as the entity you have to pay back, the one holding the mortgage. But in today's competitive market, many large lenders have created their own grant programs to attract first-time homebuyers and fulfill their community reinvestment goals. This isn't a theory, it's a fact. Bank of America, for example, has its Community Homeownership Commitment, which includes 2 separate grant programs. One is the America's Home Grant, which offers money for closing costs. The other is the Down Payment Grant Program, which provides a grant for the down payment. In some cases, qualified buyers can receive over $17,000 in combined grant money that never has to be repaid. Think about that. The The same bank you're getting your mortgage from might also hand you a check for 17 grand. Chase Bank has its Chase Homebuyer Grant. Wells Fargo has its Dream Plan Home Mortgage program, which includes options for down payment assistance. And it's not just the mega banks. Local credit unions are huge players in this space. Since credit unions are member-owned and community-focused, they often have fantastic, hyper-local grant programs that are only available to their members. It is absolutely worth your time to check with the credit unions in your area. And finally, there are nonprofit organizations. Groups like NeighborWorks America have a network of local affiliates across the country that provide homebuyer education and, you guessed it, down payment assistance. Community Development Corporations, or CDCs, are another type of nonprofit that works to revitalize neighborhoods, and a key part of that is helping people buy homes there. So let's recap our treasure map. We have 4 main sources. Level 1 is the federal government, mainly HUD, which acts as the primary funder. Level 2, the sweet spot, is your state housing finance agency, which is your most likely source of a significant grant. Level 3 is the hyperlocal level, your specific city or county, which can offer stackable assistance. And Level 4 is the private sector. Major banks, local credit unions, and nonprofit organizations, which provide their own proprietary grant programs. You are now armed with the knowledge of where the money is. You have the map. You know who holds the keys to these programs. But knowing where the treasure is buried is only half the battle. Now you have to learn how to unlock the chest. Every single one of these programs, from the biggest state fund to the smallest credit union grant, has a gatekeeper. And that gatekeeper is a list of rules, a set of qualifications you have to meet. What are they? Are they just about your income? What about your credit score? Do you have to be a US citizen? Do you have to take a class? In the next part, we're going to tackle the single most important question you should be asking. Am I eligible? This is it. This is the question that separates the dreamers from the homeowners. It's the gatekeeper standing between you and thousands of dollars in free money. Am I eligible? Because it doesn't matter if there's a billion-dollar grant program out there if you don't have the key to unlock it. Let's break down the 5 main locks on that gate one by one. And I promise you, by the end of this, you'll know exactly where you stand. The first lock, and the one that scares most people away, is income. Everyone hears grant and immediately thinks, oh, that's only for people with very, very low income. That's not me. And that is the single biggest, most destructive myth in the world of homebuyer assistance. Let's shatter it right now. Grant programs are not looking for a specific dollar amount. They don't have a list that says, if you make more than $40,000, you're out. Instead, they use a concept called Area Median Income, or AMI. Write that down. This is the most important acronym you will learn on your home buying journey. So what is it? Think of it like a financial heartbeat for your specific town or county. The government looks at all the incomes in your area, the doctors, the teachers, the baristas, everyone, and finds the exact middle point. That middle income is 100% of the area median income. Grant programs then set their limits as a percentage of that number. A program might say, you are eligible if your household income is at or below 80% of the AMI. Another, more generous program might go up to 120% of the AMI. This is a game changer. Why? Because 80% of the median income in San Francisco, California, is a wildly different number than 80% of the median income in Tupelo, Mississippi. In a high cost of living area, you could be making what feels like a very comfortable 6-figure salary and still fall well within the grant eligibility limits. You could be a nurse, a software developer, or a skilled tradesperson and still qualify for tens of thousands of dollars. You are not being judged against a national standard, you are being judged against your neighbors. The system is designed to help regular, working people buy a home in the community where they work. So the first step is to stop guessing. Don't disqualify yourself. Go online and search for Fannie Mae AMI Lookup Tool or HUD AMI data. You type in your county, and it will tell you the exact income numbers for your area. You might be shocked to find out that your too high income is actually perfectly eligible. And remember, they're looking at your household income. That's the gross income before taxes of everyone who will be on the mortgage application. Be honest and have your pay stubs ready because this is the first number they're going to look at. Okay, lock number 1, income is unlocked. You're feeling more confident. But here comes the second gatekeeper, the one that causes sleepless nights, your credit score. The fear is that you need a perfect, gleaming 820 credit score to even be considered. You picture a loan officer laughing you out of the office because of that one late payment from 3 years ago. Let me put your mind at ease. For the vast majority of down payment assistance and grant programs, you do not need perfect credit. You don't even need excellent credit. You just need decent credit. Here's how it works. The grant program itself often doesn't have its own separate, super high credit score requirement. Instead, the requirement is usually tied to the mortgage you're getting. The grant is an add-on, a booster pack for your main home loan. So, the real question is, what credit score do you need to qualify for the mortgage? If you're getting an FHA loan, which is incredibly common for first-time buyers, you can often get approved with a credit score as low as 580. Now, realistically, most lenders offering grants will want to see a score a little higher than the absolute minimum. A common floor you'll see is a 620 or a 640. For a conventional loan, 620 is typically the starting line. Think about that. A 640 credit score is a world away from a perfect 800. It's a score that acknowledges you're a human being. Maybe you had a medical bill go to collections. Maybe you were late on a credit card during a tough month. A 640 score is achievable for millions of Americans. It means you've been responsible for the most part, but you don't have to be a financial saint. The takeaway here is this. If your score is in the low 600s, you are likely still in the game. If it's lower, don't give up. Work on paying down balances, disputing errors, and making on-time payments. Your score can improve faster than you think. But please do not let the fear of a less-than-perfect credit score stop you from even starting the conversation. 2 locks down, 3 to go. The third lock seems simple, but it has a secret twist. It's the first-time homebuyer requirement. You're probably thinking, well, I've never owned a home before, so check. And you might be right. But the definition is broader and more forgiving than you think. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, has a special definition that most grant programs follow. They define a first-time homebuyer as someone who has not owned a primary residence in the last 3 years. Let that sink in. This isn't about your entire life. It's about the last 36 months. Did you own a home with an ex-spouse 4 years ago? You could be considered a first-time homebuyer again. Did you buy a condo in your early 20s, sell it, and have been renting for the past 5 years? Congratulations, you are likely a first-time homebuyer again. This rule is a massive opportunity for so many people who count themselves out. It's a reset button. Life happens. Divorces happen. Job relocations happen. The system recognizes this and gives you a second chance at achieving the dream of homeownership with the full support of these programs. There are even other exceptions. In some cases, single parents or displaced homemakers who previously only owned a home with a spouse can also qualify, even if it hasn't been 3 years. The point is, the term first-time homebuyer is a technical definition, not a literal one. Don't let your past ownership history from many years ago disqualify you in your own mind. Alright, lock number 4. This one is about the house itself. The property requirements. You've got the income, the credit, the first-time buyer status. You can't just go out and use this grant money to buy a 10-bedroom mansion or a beachfront villa to use as a weekend getaway. There are 2 fundamental rules here. First, the property must be your primary residence. That means you have to actually live in it. This isn't free money to start your real estate empire and become a landlord. This is money to help you, your family, put down roots in a community. You'll be signing legal documents promising that you will occupy the home for a certain number of years. Second, there are often limits on the purchase price of the home. Just like the income limits, these are tied to the local market. They want to ensure the funds are helping people buy modest, typical homes for the area, not luxury properties. The limit in your county might be $400,000, while in a more expensive county it could be over $800,000. This information is usually easy to find on the grant program's website. Some programs may also have restrictions on the type of property. Most are fine with a standard single-family home, a townhouse, or a condo. But if you're looking at a multi-unit property, like a duplex or a mobile home, you'll need to double-check to make sure it's allowed. This brings us to the 5th and final lock. For many, it's the easiest one to open. It's the homebuyer education course. I know what you're thinking. A class? Homework? I don't have time for that. But I want you to reframe this. This isn't a barrier. It's a boost. These programs are investing thousands of dollars in you. They want to make sure you succeed. A homeowner who understands budgeting, home maintenance, and the fine print of their mortgage is a homeowner who is far less likely to face foreclosure. This course is their small, reasonable insurance policy on their investment in you. And honestly, it's an incredible resource. It's the instruction manual for the biggest purchase of your life that nobody ever gets. And it's not a huge burden. We're not talking about a 4-year degree. Most of these courses are a few hours long and can be completed online at your own pace. Many are provided by HUD-approved counseling agencies and are either free or very low cost. You'll watch some videos, read some materials, maybe take a simple quiz, and at the end you get a certificate. That certificate is your golden ticket. It's the final key you need. You hand it to your lender, and it proves you've done your due diligence. So let's recap the 5 keys. 1. Your income is measured against your local area, not a national standard. 2. Your credit score doesn't need to be perfect, just decent, often in the 620 to 640 range. 3. First-time homebuyer usually means you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years. 4. The house must be your primary residence and fall within local price limits. And 5. You'll likely need to complete a straightforward homebuyer education course. If you're listening to this and thinking, wait a minute, I check all those boxes, I think I'm actually eligible, then you are in the exact right place. A door you thought was welded shut is starting to creak open. But knowing you're eligible is only half the battle. Now you need to find the actual money. Where are these grants hiding? How do you search for them? Is there a secret list somewhere? In the next part, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you exactly where to find every single grant and assistance program you might qualify for. Alright, let's get right into it. The truth is, there isn't one single secret, leather-bound book with a gold-embossed title that says, all the free money for houses. If there were, everyone would have a copy and the money would be gone in a day. But what does exist is something far more powerful. A system. A roadmap. And once you understand how to navigate it, you effectively have the keys to the kingdom. What we're going to do right now is build that roadmap together step by step. Think of this not as finding a needle in a haystack, but as using a giant, powerful magnet to pull that needle right out. Your search for homebuyer grants and assistance should always start at the highest level and then drill down. We're going to work from the federal level down to the state, and then all the way to your specific city or county. Level 1. The Federal Foundation. Your first stop, your non-negotiable starting point, is the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. Their website, hud.gov, is the single most authoritative source for housing information in the country. Now, I know what you're thinking. A government website? It's going to be impossible to navigate. And while some government sites can be clunky, HUD has actually done a decent job of centralizing the information you need. When you get to the HUD website, you're not looking for a big button that says, click here for free money. Instead, you're looking for links that say things like information for homebuyers, state-specific resources, or local home buying programs. This is critical. HUD acts as a master directory. It doesn't administer every single small grant itself, but it knows who does. It will point you to the official legitimate housing authorities in your specific state. This is how you avoid scams and outdated information. You start at the trusted source. HUD is also the mothership for programs like FHA loans, which, as we've discussed, often work hand in glove with the very down payment assistance programs you're looking for. So your first action item is to go to hud.gov, find the page for your state and bookmark it. This is your base camp for the entire expedition. Level 2. The State Power Players. This is where the real action begins. After you've used the HUD website to get your bearings, your next mission is to find your state's Housing Finance Agency, or HFA. Every single state has one. It might be called the California Housing Finance Agency, CalHFA, or the Florida Housing Finance Corporation, or the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. The name varies slightly, but the function is the same. These state-level agencies are the primary channels through which federal housing funds and state-specific funds are distributed to homebuyers like you. Think of the HFAs as the regional headquarters for grants and assistance. They design and manage the flagship programs for your state. They create the down payment assistance loans, the closing costs grants, the special mortgage products for first-time buyers. This is not an optional step. This is arguably the most important step in your entire search. So how do you find yours? It's simple. Open a new tab and Google the name of your state followed by Housing Finance Agency. The official .gov or .org website should be the very first result. When you get to their site, you will find a goldmine. You'll see names of specific programs like Home is Possible, in Nevada or MassDreams in Massachusetts. You'll find lists of approved lenders who are trained to handle these specific programs. You'll find income limits, purchase price limits, and the exact details of the assistance they offer. Whether it's a forgivable loan, a deferred payment loan, or a true, no-strings-attached grant. Spend time on this website. Read everything. Download their program guides. This is your primary intelligence report. The vast majority of first-time homebuyer assistance flows through these state HFAs. Level 3. The local hidden gems. Now we drill down even further. While the state HFAs manage the big, statewide programs, there's another layer of assistance available at the city and county level. These are the hidden gems, the hyper-local programs that many people miss because they stop their search at the state level. Many larger cities and counties have their own housing departments with their own budgets to encourage homeownership within their specific boundaries. They might offer an extra $5,000 or $10,000 to buyers in a certain zip code they're trying to revitalize. They might have special programs for city employees, teachers, firefighters, or police officers, professions they want to retain in the community. For example, the City of Baltimore has a whole suite of programs, including grants for buying vacant homes and fixing them up. The City of Detroit has similar initiatives. These are just examples. Your city likely has something. Your search query here needs to be more specific. You'll Google things like, your city name first-time homebuyer assistance, or your county name down payment grant. And don't forget to try variations. Search for your local housing authority or community development department. This part of the search requires a little more detective work, but it can pay off enormously. Stacking a local $10,000 grant on top of a state-level assistance program can be the difference that makes a home affordable. So you have the 3 levels. Federal HUD to get the lay of the land, your state HFA for the major programs, and your local city and county for the hidden gems. But there's one more critical resource, and it's not a website. It's a person. This is the professional key that unlocks many of these programs. A great loan officer. But not just any loan officer. You need to find a loan officer who is an expert in first-time homebuyer programs in your specific area. When you start talking to lenders, one of your very first questions should be, what specific down payment assistance programs and grants are you approved to work with? Listen carefully to their answer. A vague response like, oh yeah, we do all of them, is a red flag. A great loan officer will say, absolutely. We are a top producer for the state HFA program name. We also work with the city name grant, and I know the ins and outs of their application process. Based on what you've told me, you might be a great candidate for program X or Y. Let's run the numbers. This is the person you want on your team. These loan officers are the gatekeepers. They are the ones who process the applications, who know the program administrators by name, and who understand the specific paperwork and timelines required. Many grants and assistance programs can only be accessed through an approved lender. You can't just apply for the money on your own and then go shopping for a house. The lender is an integral part of the process. Finding the right one is like hiring an expert guide who has walked the path 1,000 times before. They will know about program quirks, funding cycles, and opportunities that you would never find on your own, no matter how much you Google. So let's recap your action plan. 1. Go to HUD.gov to find the official housing resources for your state. 2. Find your state's housing finance agency website and do a deep dive into every single program they offer. 3. Search for your specific city and county's homebuyer assistance programs. 4. Start interviewing lenders and specifically ask about their expertise with these programs. This is the system. This is the treasure map. It's not a secret, but it does require effort. By following these steps, you move from passively hoping for help to actively hunting down every single dollar you are entitled to. You'll be more informed than 95% of other first-time homebuyers out there. Now that you know exactly where to look and who to talk to, you're going to have a list of potential programs. But this leads to the next, most crucial question. How do you actually qualify for them? It's not enough to know a grant exists. You have to meet its specific criteria. What are the income limits? Do you need a certain credit score? Are you required to take a homebuyer education class? What's the fine print that could trip you up? Let's break down that fine print, because understanding these requirements is the difference between getting free money for your home and getting a rejection letter. Think of it like a video game. To get to the final boss, homeownership, you have to clear 4 main levels. These are the 4 gatekeepers of virtually every down payment assistance grant in the United States. Get past them and the treasure is yours. The first and most important gatekeeper is the income limit. This is where most people get nervous. They think, I make a decent salary, I probably make too much money for a grant. And they stop right there. That is a massive mistake. Grant programs aren't just for people in the lowest income brackets. They are designed for low to moderate income households, and that moderate definition is a lot wider than you think. The key phrase you need to burn into your memory is AMI, Area Median Income. Every county and metropolitan area in the United States has its own AMI, calculated by the government. It represents the midpoint of all household incomes in that specific location. Grant programs then set their limits as a percentage of that AMI. You'll see requirements like, applicants must have an income at or below 80% of AMI, or sometimes, up to 120% of AMI. Here's why this is so critical. 80% of the area median income in rural Nebraska is a completely different dollar amount than 80% of the AMI in San Francisco or just outside New York City. A salary that disqualifies you in one county might make you a perfect candidate just one county over. This isn't about how much you make in a vacuum. It's about how much you make relative to the cost of living where you want to buy. And here's the second crucial detail. They almost always look at household income. It's not just your paycheck. It's your income, your spouse's income if you're married, and sometimes the income of any other adult who will be living in the house and contributing to the mortgage. They look at your gross income. That's before taxes are taken out. So, if you and your partner each make $50,000 a year, your household income for qualification purposes is $100,000. You then take that number and compare it to the AMI limit for the grant in your specific county. You can find your area's AMI by searching for HUD AMI or Fannie Mae AMI lookup tool. Don't guess. Look it up. You might be shocked to find out that your $100,000 household income is considered moderate in your area and qualifies you for thousands of dollars. Okay, so you've passed the income gatekeeper. You're feeling good. Next up is gatekeeper number 2, the credit score. The myth here is that you need a flawless 800+ credit score to even be considered for a grant. That's simply not true. Remember, these programs are designed to help people who need a boost. They're not looking for financial perfection. What they are looking for is a history of responsibility. They want to see that when you borrow money, you have a track record of paying it back on time. So what's the magic number? It varies, but a common floor for many grant programs is a FICO score of 620 or 640. Some might be a little higher, maybe 660, and a few might be a little lower. The grant itself might not have a hard and fast rule, but it will be tied to a specific mortgage loan like an FHA or conventional loan, and that loan will have a minimum credit score requirement. The grant just follows suit. The takeaway here isn't to panic if your score isn't perfect. The takeaway is to know your score. Pull your credit reports, you can get them for free from all 3 bureaus, and see where you stand. If you're at a 610, you now have a concrete goal. Find ways to raise your score by 10, 20, or 30 points. That small increase can be the key that unlocks tens of thousands of dollars in grant money. It might mean paying down a credit card balance or disputing an error on your report. A little bit of effort here can have a monumental payoff. They don't need you to be rich. They just need you to be reliable. With your income qualified and your credit score in range, you approach the third gatekeeper, the homebuyer education course. For many first-time buyers, this sounds like a hassle. Sounds like homework. But I want you to reframe that. This is not a test you can fail. It's a free masterclass in how to successfully own a home. These programs require it because they are investing in you. They are giving you non-repayable money, and they want to make sure you succeed in the long run. A homeowner who defaults on their mortgage isn't good for anyone. Not you, not the lender, not the community. These courses are incredibly valuable. They teach you everything from understanding your own budget and how a mortgage really works, to what to look for during a home inspection, to the hidden costs of homeownership like property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. Most people who take these classes come out feeling 10 times more confident and prepared. Typically, the requirement is to complete a course from a HUD-approved housing counseling agency. This is a critical detail. You can't just watch a few videos online and call it a day. It needs to be an official certified course. They're often available online for a small fee, maybe $75 or $100, or sometimes even for free. It usually takes a few hours to complete, and at the end you get a certificate. That certificate is your golden ticket. It's a non-negotiable piece of paper you will have to provide in your application. Don't see it as a hurdle. See it as the program giving you the tools you need to protect their investment, and more importantly, to protect your investment. So you've passed the income test, the credit check, and you have your education certificate in hand. You're at the final gate. This is gatekeeper number 4. The property and purchase rules. This is the fine print where a lot of dreams hit a snag if you're not paying attention. First and foremost, virtually every single grant program in existence is for a primary residence only. That means you have to live in the house. You cannot use this money to buy a vacation home or an investment property that you plan to rent out. That is the number 1 rule. Second, there are often restrictions on the type of property. Most grants are perfectly fine with a standard single-family home or a condominium. Some are okay with a 2 to 4 unit multifamily property, as long as you occupy one of the units as your primary residence. But buying a commercial building or a plot of land is almost always out of the question. Third, and this is a big one, there will be a maximum purchase price. Just because you qualify for a $15,000 grant doesn't mean you can use it to buy $1 million mansion. The program will have a cap on how much the home you're buying can cost. This, much like the income limits, is usually tied to the median home prices in your specific area. So a grant in a high-cost city will have a much higher purchase price limit than one in a more affordable rural town. This ensures the funds are being used to help people buy modest, starter-type homes. And finally, some grants have geographic restrictions. A grant might be offered by a specific city and only be usable for homes within that city's limits. Or, a state-level program might offer extra funds for buying in what they call targeted areas, neighborhoods the state is actively trying to revitalize and encourage homeownership in. So you have to make sure the house you fall in love with is actually eligible for the specific grant you're targeting. So there they are. The 4 gatekeepers: income, credit, education, and property rules. Seems like a lot, but now you have the map. You know what they're looking for. You know that it's not about being perfect, it's about fitting the specific profile these programs were designed to help. You understand it's about your local AMI, not some national standard. You know that a 640 credit score can be a beautiful number. You know that a weekend education course is your ticket in. And you know to look for a primary residence within the program's price limits. You've done the reconnaissance. You know the rules of engagement. But now the real question emerges. You know the what. But what about the where and the how? Where do you actually find these grants? Are they hiding on some obscure government website? Do you have to know someone? And once you find one, what does the application process actually look like? How do you navigate the paperwork, the deadlines, and the communication with your lender to make sure you don't make a critical mistake that costs you everything? That's where the hunt truly begins. Let's break down this hunt into a series of critical missions. Think of yourself as a secret agent, and your target is the keys to your first home. Your success depends on strategy, preparation, and flawless execution. This isn't just filling out forms. It's a campaign. Mission 1: the dossier. Before you even speak to a lender, you need to assemble your intelligence file. This is the most crucial, and frankly the most tedious part of the entire operation, but skipping this step is like going into a jungle without a map. You need to become a financial archaeologist, digging up the last 2 years of your life. We're talking about your last 2 years of federal tax returns, every single page. Your last 2 months of pay stubs, showing your year-to-date income. Your last 2 to 3 months of bank statements for every single account you have, checking, savings, even that one you opened for a $5 bonus and forgot about. The grant provider and lender will want to see everything. They're looking for the source of your down payment funds and making sure you don't have any undisclosed debts or strange, large, undocumented deposits. A $50 birthday check from your grandma? Fine. A random $5,000 deposit from a friend? That's a massive red flag. Every dollar needs a paper trail. And here's a pro-level tip that will save you immense stress. Create a dedicated folder on your computer right now. Call it Mortgage Application. Scan every one of these documents and save them as clearly labeled PDFs. John Smith, May 2024 pay stub. John Smith, April 2024 bank statement. When your lender emails you at 9 p.m., asking for a document you thought you already sent, you won't spend an hour tearing your house apart. You'll just drag, drop, and send. You will look like the most organized, on-top-of-it buyer they've ever seen. This is how you build trust and momentum from day one. Mission 2: securing your ally. You don't go on a critical mission alone. You need a partner in the field, and in this case, that's your mortgage lender. But here's the secret. Not all lenders are created equal. Many big banks or online-only lenders are fantastic for simple cookie-cutter loans. But for first-time homebuyer grants, they can be completely clueless. They might not be approved to work with your state's specific DPA program, or their loan officers simply lack the training to navigate the extra layers of paperwork. You need a specialist. Your first question to any potential lender, before you even discuss interest rates, should be, do you have experience with the insert name of your state or local DPA grant program? If they hesitate, if they say, let me check, or if they try to steer you toward a different program, that's a warning sign. You want to hear a confident, yes, absolutely. We close dozens of those a year. A mortgage broker can be particularly valuable here, as they work with multiple lenders and often know exactly which ones are the experts in DPA and grant programs in your area. This isn't about finding the lender with the slickest TV commercial. It's about finding the one who has been in these trenches before and knows how to win. Mission 3. The formal application. Once you have your dossier assembled and your ally chosen, it's time to officially launch the operation. You'll be presented with the Uniform Residential Loan Application, or Form 1003. It's a long, intimidating document, typically 10 pages or more, that asks for every detail of your financial life. Your job history, your income, your assets, your debts, your declarations about past bankruptcies or foreclosures. The golden rule here is absolute, unforgiving honesty and accuracy. Do not estimate. Do not round up your income or forget about that small student loan you've been deferring. The lender is going to verify every single number on this form. A small, innocent mistake can be seen as an attempt to mislead. A whoops, I forgot, can grind your entire application to a halt for weeks while they re-verify everything. Go through it line by line with your lender. If you don't understand something, ask. This document becomes the bedrock of your entire loan file. A crack in this foundation can bring the whole house down later. Be meticulous. Check your social security number 3 times. Ensure your employer's address is perfect. Measure twice, cut once. Mission 4. The underwriting gauntlet. You've submitted the application. Now you enter the quiet, nerve-wracking phase of the mission underwriting. Think of the underwriter as the final boss. They are the person, or increasingly the algorithm, paid by the bank to find any reason to say no. They don't know you. They don't care about your dream of a backyard for your dog. They are risk-averse, detail-obsessed financial detectives whose only job is to ensure you are a safe bet. They will re-verify your employment, pull a fresh credit report, and scrutinize your bank statements with a fine-tooth comb. During this period, which can last from a few days to several weeks, your job is to go into financial lockdown. You need to become a ghost. Do not, under any circumstances, make any large purchases. Don't buy a car. Don't buy furniture for the new house. Don't even apply for a new store credit card to save 10% on a new lawnmower. Any new debt or new credit inquiry can change your debt-to-income ratio or lower your credit score, forcing the underwriter to reevaluate or even deny your entire loan. Don't change jobs, even for a raise, without talking to your lender first. Stability is key. And don't move large sums of money between accounts. The underwriter will see it and demand a 20-page explanation. Just be still. Let your finances be as boring and predictable as possible until you have the keys in your hand. Mission 5. Clearing conditions. It's rare for a loan to sail through underwriting without a single question. More often than not, you'll get what's called a conditional approval. This is a good sign. It means the underwriter is ready to approve you. If you can provide a few more things, they might say, we need a letter of explanation for that one late payment on your credit report from 2 years ago. Or please provide the most recent statement for your 401k. This is where speed is your greatest weapon. The grant money you're applying for is often funded from a finite pool. Can and does run out. Every day you delay in getting these documents back to your lender is a day someone else might be getting approved and taking a piece of that pie. Treat every request from the underwriter like it's an emergency. Don't wait until the end of the day. Stop what you're doing, get the document, write the letter, and send it immediately. Your responsiveness shows you're a serious, motivated buyer and keeps your file at the top of the stack. You've built the dossier, chosen your ally, survived the gauntlet, and cleared the conditions. The final approval, the coveted clear to close, is within your grasp. You can almost feel the cold metal of the keys in your palm, but the mission isn't over. The most high-stakes part of the entire process is still ahead. The final 72 hours. This is the period where the grant money is wired, the final numbers are calculated, And the smallest error can create a catastrophic failure right at the finish line. What are the critical final checks you need to make? And what really happens at that closing table to ensure you walk out with your grant, your loan, and your home? The final countdown is about to begin. This is it. The moment where months of hard work, stress, and saving come down to a few final critical steps. You can practically feel the keys in your hand, but this is precisely where the dream can unravel. It's the final mile of the marathon, the most grueling part, where a single misstep can send you tumbling. So let's defuse the 3 biggest landmines standing between you and that front door. The closing disclosure, the final walkthrough, and the closing table itself. First up, the beast known as the closing disclosure, or the CD. 3 business days before your closing date, by law, you will receive this 5-page document. Do not glance at it. Do not skim it. I want you to treat this document like it's the final exam for your financial future, because it is. This is the legally binding, finalized breakdown of every single dollar and cent involved in your transaction. The estimate you got at the beginning? That was a practice test. This is the real thing. Your lender, your grant provider, the seller, the title company. Everyone's numbers converge right here. And mistakes happen all the time. So what are you looking for? You're a detective now. Your first clue is your name. Is it spelled correctly? Is your address correct? A simple typo here can create massive legal and title headaches down the road. Next, you're going to the loan terms on page 1. Does the loan amount match what you agreed to? Is the interest rate exactly what you locked in? Is it a 30-year fixed loan like you wanted? Or did someone accidentally check a box for a 15-year or, even worse, an adjustable rate mortgage? It sounds insane, but clerical errors are the #1 gremlin in this process. Now flip to page 2. This is the closing cost details section, and it's where the real forensic work begins. You're going to compare this page, line by line, with the loan estimate you received when you first applied. The law strictly limits how much certain fees can increase from that initial estimate. Some fees can't increase at all, like the origination fee from your lender. Others can only increase by a total of 10%. Some can increase without limit, like your prepaid homeowners insurance. You need to know the difference. Look for junk fees, a processing fee, an underwriting fee, a courier fee. Question everything. Ask your loan officer, what is this for? Why is it this amount? Remember, you have 3 days. This 3-day window is your power. It's your legal right to review these numbers without pressure. If something is wrong, and I mean anything, you raise hell. You call your loan officer immediately. If the lender has to make a significant change, like to the interest rate or loan product, they are legally required to issue a new CD and start a new 3-day review period, which will delay your closing. Lenders hate this. It costs them time and money. This is your leverage. Use it to ensure every single number is perfect. And most importantly for you, where is your grant money? It should be listed here, clear as day, under summaries of transactions, or in the credits section. It should show the exact amount of the grant being applied, reducing the total cash you need to bring to closing. If it's not there, or if the number is wrong, it's a code red emergency. The entire deal hinges on this. Don't assume it will just get sorted out at the table. Get it fixed on the closing disclosure before you ever walk into that room. Once the CD is perfect, you move to the second landmine, the final walkthrough. This usually happens 24 hours before closing. This is not a victory lap. This is not a fun visit to measure for curtains. This is your last chance to ensure the property you're about to legally own is in the condition you agreed to buy it in. Your purchase agreement is a contract, and this is your final opportunity to enforce it. What are you looking for? First, you're checking on any repairs the seller agreed to make. Did they promise to fix that leaky faucet or repair the drywall in the garage? Don't just look at it. Test it. Turn on the faucet. Check the wall. Get receipts and warranty information for the work if you can. Second, you're making sure everything that was supposed to stay is still there. All appliances, light fixtures, window treatments, whatever was specified in your contract. People have walked into their final walkthrough to find the seller has taken the $1,000 refrigerator or the custom chandelier they fell in love with. If it's in the contract, it belongs to you. Third, you're looking for new damage. The sellers have just moved out. Did they scratch the hardwood floors dragging a sofa out? Did they knock a hole in the wall with a bed frame? The house should be in the same or better condition than when you signed the contract. Turn on every light switch. Run every faucet. Flush every toilet. Test the heat and the AC no matter the season. Open and close windows and doors. You are testing the core functions of the home one last time. If you find a problem, you don't panic. You document it with photos and immediately call your real estate agent. You do not close until the issue is resolved. This could mean the seller has to give you a credit at closing to cover the cost of the repair, or they have to get it fixed immediately. Do not accept a verbal promise that they'll take care of it later. Once you sign those papers, the house and all its problems are yours. Your leverage is gone. Okay, the CD is accurate. The walkthrough is perfect. Now you're heading to the closing table. The summit. You will walk into a room with a stack of paper an inch thick. It's intimidating on purpose. You'll be surrounded by professionals, a closing agent or an attorney, maybe your agent, maybe the lender's representative. Their job is to get this done quickly. Your job is to understand what you're signing. You are not a cog in a machine. You are the buyer. You are the client. This entire process exists for you. You have the right to take your time and ask questions. You'll be signing several key documents. The two most important are the promissory note and the deed of trust or mortgage. The promissory note is your IOU to the lender. It's your personal promise to repay the loan. The deed of trust or mortgage is the document that secures the property as collateral for that loan. It's what gives the lender the right to foreclose if you don't pay. Make sure all the terms on these documents, the loan amount, the interest rate, your payment schedule, match your closing disclosure to the letter. You'll also sign the final settlement statement, often called the Alta statement. This is the master ledger of the entire transaction, showing where every single penny came from and where it's going. Again, find your grant money on this sheet. Confirm it's listed as a credit, reducing what you owe. You'll need to bring a cashier's check or have wired the funds for your cash to close amount. Be hyper-aware of wire fraud. Never ever trust wiring instructions sent via email. Always call your closing agent at a phone number you know is legitimate to verify the instructions before sending a single dollar. This is the moment of truth. As you sign each page, the closing agent will likely give you a brief explanation of what it is. If you don't understand, stop them. Say, "Can you explain that to me in simpler terms?" There is no such thing as a dumb question at the closing table. You are signing legally binding documents that will affect your life for the next 30 years. You have every right to be 100% confident in what you're doing. Once the last page is signed and the funds are officially transferred, the closing agent will slide a set of keys across the table. And in that moment, it's all real. You did it. Against all odds, through all the paperwork and all the stress, you are a homeowner. The grant worked. The loan is funded. The house is yours. But as you walk out of that office, clutching those keys, you need to understand something critical. Getting the house was just the first half of the battle. Now you have to keep it. The challenges of homeownership are just beginning, and the first year is full of financial traps that can turn your dream into a nightmare, putting everything you've worked for and that grant you received at risk. What are those traps, and how do you build a financial fortress around your new home from day one? The final chapter is about to begin. The first trap isn't a hidden clause in a contract or a surprise fee at closing. It's a feeling. It's the intoxicating, dangerous feeling of relief you get the moment the keys are in your hand. You think, "I did it. The race is over." But that's the illusion. The race isn't over. You've just finished the qualifying lap. The real marathon, the one that determines if you keep the home you fought so hard for, has just begun. The most common pitfall, the one that sinks more new homeowners than any other, is becoming house rich and cash poor. You have this beautiful, valuable asset on paper, but your bank account is a barren wasteland. Every dollar from every paycheck is already spoken for by the mortgage, and you're living on the financial edge, one broken dishwasher or one flat tire away from a full-blown crisis. That grant gave you a powerful head start, but being house rich and cash poor is like starting a marathon at the 5-mile mark, but with no water and rocks in your shoes. You won't make it to the finish line. So let's build your fortress. Forget the flimsy house of cards built on hope. We're building a financial stronghold of stone and steel around your new home. The foundation of this fortress is not concrete. It's a new kind of budget, the real-life homeowner's budget. The budget you used to get approved for the loan? Throw it out. That was a fantasy document. It was designed to answer one question. What's the absolute maximum the bank thinks I can afford? The new budget answers a much more important question. What can I comfortably afford while still building wealth and sleeping soundly at night? This new budget must account for the 4 phantom costs of homeownership. They're called phantom costs because they often feel invisible to first-time buyers, but they will haunt you if you ignore them. First is property taxes. You saw the estimate at closing, but this number is not static. It will go up. Sometimes gradually, sometimes after a reassessment, shockingly. Second is homeowners insurance. Again, you paid the first year upfront, but rates can and do increase, especially after a regional disaster or if you make a claim. These two, taxes and insurance, are often bundled into your mortgage payment in an escrow account. But if the costs rise, your lender will suddenly hit you with an escrow shortage, and your monthly mortgage payment will jump, sometimes by hundreds of dollars, with very little warning. The third and most underestimated phantom is maintenance and repairs. This is not optional. Your house is a complex machine that is slowly, constantly trying to fall apart. The roof, the water heater, the HVAC system, they are all on a countdown timer to failure. A good rule of thumb is the 1% rule. Expect to spend, on average, 1% of your home's value on maintenance each year. For a $400,000 house, that's $4,000 a year, or over $330 a month you need to be setting aside. This isn't for cosmetic upgrades. This is for the stuff that keeps the house livable. The fourth phantom is the jump in utilities. Renters often have some utilities included. As a homeowner, you pay for everything: water, sewer, trash, electricity, gas. And in a larger space, those bills can easily be double or triple what you're used to. So let's do the real math. If your mortgage principal and interest is $2,000, you have to add the phantoms. Let's say $400 for taxes, $150 for insurance, $330 for maintenance, and an extra $200 for utilities. Suddenly, your $2,000 mortgage is actually a $3,080 monthly housing cost. That is the number your budget must be built on. The foundation of your fortress is acknowledging this truth and automatically transferring that maintenance and repair money into a separate high-yield savings account every single month. It's not your money to spend. It belongs to the future version of you who will be very grateful when the air conditioner dies in the middle of July. With the foundation laid, we now need to dig the moat. The moat is your emergency fund. This is not the same as your maintenance fund. The maintenance fund is for when the house has an emergency. The emergency fund is for when you have an emergency: a job loss, a sudden illness, a major family crisis. This is the fund that prevents a life problem from becoming a housing crisis. This is what allows you to continue paying your mortgage, even when your income disappears. The standard advice is 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses. Not your full income, but the bare minimum you need to cover your mortgage, utilities, food, and transportation. Think of two new homeowners, Sarah and Tom. Both got grants, both bought similar houses. Sarah builds her maintenance fund. Tom builds both a maintenance fund and an emergency fund. 6 months in, Sarah's water heater bursts. It's a $1,500 repair. It stings, but she uses her maintenance fund. She feels smart and prepared. A month later, her company has layoffs, and she loses her job. Now panic sets in. The maintenance fund is depleted, and every mortgage payment that comes due is a gut-wrenching terror. She starts missing payments, her credit score plummets, and the foreclosure notices begin. Tom's water heater also bursts. He uses his maintenance fund. A month later, he also gets laid off. But for Tom, the feeling isn't panic. It's dread for sure, but it's manageable. He knows his emergency fund can cover his mortgage and essential bills for the next 5 months. He has breathing room. He can search for a new job with focus instead of desperation. He doesn't miss a single payment. He keeps his house, his credit, and his sanity. The moat, the emergency fund, is what makes the difference between a temporary setback and a total catastrophe. Finally, every fortress needs a watchtower. Your watchtower is continuous financial awareness. Getting the keys doesn't mean you can stop paying attention. In fact, you have to be more vigilant than ever, because now you're a target for new kinds of financial traps. The first is the Helic honeypot. Within weeks of closing, your mailbox will be flooded with offers for home equity lines of credit. Banks will flatter you, telling you to tap into your equity and use your home's value to live your dreams. They make it sound so easy. They're encouraging you to treat your house like an ATM. Need a new car? A vacation? A kitchen remodel you don't have the cash for? Just use the Helic. This is a deadly trap. Using your home equity for consumer debt or non-essential upgrades is like dismantling your fortress walls to build a fancy patio. You are systematically increasing your debt and reducing the very security your home was meant to provide. If you hit a rough patch, you now have a mortgage and a Helic payment to make. Resist the temptation. The second thing to watch for from your tower is property tax reassessments. Don't just blindly pay the bill when it comes. Look at the new assessed value of your home. Does it seem accurate? You have the right to appeal your property tax assessment. And if you can provide evidence that it's too high, you can save yourself thousands of dollars over the years. And third, be wary of refinancing fever. When interest rates drop, you'll hear everyone talking about refinancing. It can be a brilliant move, but it's not automatic. You have to calculate the closing costs, which can be thousands of dollars, and figure out your break-even point. If you plan to sell the house before you hit that point, you might actually lose money. Don't just follow the herd. Do the math for your specific situation. That grant you worked so hard to get, that entire 10-part journey we've been on together. It wasn't just about getting you into a house. It was about giving you a launch pad, a head start on building a life of stability, security, and generational wealth. The grant helped you buy the asset. Building the fortress is how you protect it and make it grow. It's about transforming a mortgage payment from a lifelong burden into a tool for financial freedom. The American dream isn't just owning a home. It's the peace of mind that comes with it. It's knowing that the four walls around you are a sanctuary, not a source of stress. It's about having a place to build a life, to raise a family, to grow old with dignity. That is the real prize. And now you have the complete blueprint. You know how to find the grants, how to win the bidding wars, and most importantly, how to build a financial fortress that can withstand any storm. The dream is within your reach. Go out there and build it.